welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here with our second annual Hop into Spring for 2019. I'm really excited that we brought this back this year. It's me and some of my friends who do a springtime video hop. Last year we made mixed media tags. This year is kind of a free-for-all. Everybody's making whatever they feel like. I am actually the last video on the hop, so I will link the first video of the hop in the description bar down below, as well as some more information on the hop so you know who's participating, and you can go check out their channels and see what they made for the hop. Or you can just follow us on the bunny trail and hop on to the very next video, which, like I said, will be in the bar down below. So, what am I doing for Hop into Spring 2019? This time, I thought it would be fun to make a masterboard and then show you guys how to use it. And for those of you who aren't familiar, in mixed media, a masterboard is like a sheet of paper or a board that you get, some kind of like surface that you use that you decorate up like the entire sheet, and then you take it apart, cut it apart, and turn it into other things. And these are really fun to make. You can actually make journal covers if you're into like junk journals like I am, out of a masterboard, or you can cut it into little pieces, turn it into Franken paper, add it into tags, turn it into just tags itself, and it's really fun. I have a little journal that I'm working on. Nothing fancy, just something really simple for a quick Easter gift. And so we're going to make our masterboard today, and then I'm going to make the little cover piece for it out of the masterboard and show you guys what that looks like, so you can see something else fun that you can do with masterboards. I thought this would be a fun little thing to get into, so you guys could kind of get maybe some ideas or some inspiration that will bring in some of this super positive, happy spring energy that we're trying to bring up into what you're making and into your own crafts. So let's just hop into it. So what I have here is a regular sheet of cold pressed watercolor paper. You do not have to use watercolor paper. You can do this on regular cardstock or even just a regular sheet of paper if that's all you have. I'm using watercolor paper today though because I do intend to apply wet medium to this, and it will just keep the paper from falling apart. You can use a regular sheet of paper and do the same things. You'll just have to be really careful and make sure that you get it, totally dry before moving on to the next stage. So I have this watercolor paper. I have some mermaid markers in my little jar here off to the side, and I've got some archival ink. This is black. I've got a couple other colors which I'll probably bring into play. The archival ink is important if you intend to do any stamping before you start watercoloring and applying medium, because it is permanent, so it's not water reactive. So if you paint over the top of it, it won't spread out like a distress ink or even a dye ink would. So you're definitely going to need some kind of permanent ink. It does not have to be archival. It could be, I think Memento makes a permanent ink as well. I've got a couple of ideas, not like a real plan for what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of get in there and see what I come up with. So I've got some stencils and some tissue paper on the side, and we'll just see what happens. So what I'm going to do is switch to fast forward and voiceover, so you guys can just kind of see the process and don't have to watch the whole thing real time. And then I'll get back on here and explain some more stuff. So have fun. Okay, so what I have gotten together is some flower stamps from my stash, and I'm just going to start stamping it along. My initial plan was to do a garden meadow type of thing, but the logistics of adding like stems to everything became kind of overwhelming and a little more work than I wanted to do, so I started to just sort of randomly stamp out a bunch of different flower shapes, and try to keep your pattern, if you follow this tutorial to the letter, organic. Don't try to plan it out too much, because it's going to kind of start to look like mechanical and like a machine did it. You don't want it to look like that. You want it to have that handmade, made with love type of vibe, but you also kind of want to look before you start stamping. So definitely don't stamp with a plan, but come in there and just have a little fun and keep an eye on what you're doing. Here I've pulled out some archival ink in Garden Patina and Sunflower just to add a pop of color that's already set in the background and I don't have to worry about it. Like I said, I'm using archival inks because I am going to use water on this page, so I don't want it to run, and these colors aren't going to run either because they're also archival. And so what I've got is just some water, and I'm just adding it to the flowers, sticking to the same groups, and adding in some color with my mermaid markers. And I'm not going for a super perfect colored in thing. I want it to have like a watercolor vibe, and so I am just sort of loosely adding color in the general area that the shape is in, trying not to focus on being too perfect, because like I said, I want it to have a watercolor look, and I'm adding another color in there just to sort of disperse and break up that color, so it's not just like a blotch of color, but it looks like somebody got a little crazy with their watercolors. And then I'm just going to dry those off real quick, and then work on the next ones. And this is an easy way to add a watercolor effect or a faux watercolor effect without actually doing a lot of work. And I think it's a lot of fun. You should definitely try it. It is kind of liberating to do a loose watercolor. And you can see I got a big old blob of color out of that brush, and I didn't want it there. So I just kind of dabbed off the excess so it wouldn't turn into a big giant puddle of like yellow. And it's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, this is a mixed media masterboard, and the whole thing does not have to be perfect. And if it really bothers you, you can kind of trim that part off if you don't want to use it. So what I've got here is some light tan, beige colored, I don't know, sand, let's call it sand colored tissue paper, and I'm going to add that to the background with some Prima soft gloss gel. You don't have to use soft gloss gel, you can use Mod Podge. You can even use it in matte, which is probably what I should have done, but I didn't feel like looking for it, and this is what I had on hand. Also, it dries pretty quickly, so that was like an added bonus, but I'm using this to kind of break up the whiteness of the background so that it doesn't start to like overpower the overall design. But also, doing things like this will tie in the whole page, so it'll look like it was all meant to be together and everything was intentional. But I also really like it because the tissue paper is so thin that you can still see all the color and stuff that we added, and it still gives it that really bright, sort of vibrant color, but not super bright, too bright. You do have to keep in mind that the mermaid markers are water reactive, so the more you brush over them, the more they'll pick up that color, and you'll get little splotches of like color across your page, which is totally okay for what we're doing here, but if you want something a little cleaner, then be a little more careful with your brush. So to break up more of the background, I stamped in with some potting soil archival ink, a little script stamp, and now I'm going over with some Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide through a Prima stencil to sort of take away from some of those glossy edges where I wasn't very careful with my brush. So that'll kind of break up that glossy shine, which isn't really noticeable because the soft gloss gel is a gloss, but it's not very, very glossy. So I'm just kind of breaking it up a little bit, detracting from that, and also adding that bright pop of green color because, of course, it's a spring design, so I want it to look spring-like, and you need green to have spring. So that is our sheet, but we have one more thing we're going to do to it. I'm going to use this Prima Color Bloom Spray and just spray a little bit onto my mat, and then get a brush and add a couple of really pretty gold sparkly splatters to it. Nothing super complicated. I could keep going, but I chose to keep it kind of simple. And you can see it's got a really great shine. I have a template here that I just kind of freehand drew onto some scrap cardstock. I'm going to go around that with a pen, and then I'm going to eventually go around and cut out the butterfly. You can see it's not a super complicated shape, so it's not super hard to draw if you don't have very good drawing skills. If you are still intimidated by the idea of drawing your own shape, definitely just go online and look up the silhouette for whatever you're looking for, and that'll give you a good template to start out with. And then I just cut the little body part out so I know where to draw the center of the butterfly. And I probably could have freehanded that, but I really wasn't too fussed about messing up the template, and I ended up using the other pieces that I cut off later on anyways. So what I'm doing here is adding some black outline so that I can kind of work on setting up the shape of my butterfly. And you could totally leave it just like this if you wanted to, or if you wanted to add the outline. or leave it totally plain. It's up to you. For what I'm doing, I want it to look a little bit more like a butterfly, like a real butterfly. So I'm going to go through and draw in the shapes and make it look a little bit more like a butterfly. And the trick to doing this is to keep it kind of loose and not try to go for like super perfect shapes or anything like that, or even like totally symmetrical. Butterfly wings aren't like perfect, aren't always perfect identical matches of each other. So, you know, just add in some fun shapes and try to keep them loose, and don't really stress too much if, you know, one side doesn't look like the other. It's okay. As long as they look like they're from the same butterfly, you're on the right track. So I'm just going to get a permanent marker out and color that in. Okay, so we're back, and this is my completed butterfly made out of my Masterboard. Get a little close up here. I think it came out pretty neat. What I did was took that stencil piece that I had, and I painted it gold and just glued it to the back to give it a little pop. A little bit of sparkle and pizzazz to match the little gold splatters that are in, or that are on the Masterboard itself. And you might be wondering, well, Priscilla, what about the rest of the Masterboard? Well, I already cut that into tags, so that'll go into the journal that I am working on. And those are ready to go, and they came out so cool. And there's still lots of stuff you could do. You could always add another image on here, your little focal point, a collage, or whatever you want. You could outline it, maybe in gold, since we use gold on this one. And, let's just get the book that I'm working on so you guys can see it in its final home. Like I said, this is not a very complicated book. It's just trying to train some of the pages flat, because I did a bunch of Easter egg dyeing or Easter egg dye for my papers, and I didn't flatten them out, so the pages are very springy, but it's really colorful, really bright. And there's probably not going to be a video for this one. It's just, as you can see, a very blank book, because it's a little quick present. And I already stuck a little heart-shaped doily on it. So what I'm going to do is pinch it back closed in the front so that I don't have to fight with it while I'm trying to glue stuff down. And then we'll use Fabri-Tac because of the fact that I am doing a video. But normally I would just use like some tacky glue or some Tombow mono adhesive. But I'm just going to pop this right here. And then we have a really pretty focal point for the book. And I have also some of this like black Recollections knockoff stickles, which I'm going to do the little body part in after I get this glued down, but I'll do that off camera. So let me glue this on and I will be right back. Okay, so we are all glued down now, and I'm really happy with how that came out. I think it's really cool, and I love how the stamped images kind of peek through. I know it looked a little crazy there for a bit, but I'm glad that you guys stuck with me so you could see how it came out. And of course, we got these really cool tags out of the process too. So that's it for me for this video. Definitely check out the other videos in the hop. It is such a fun thing, and I know that everybody came up with some really great ideas. And hopefully you get some inspiration from their videos and from this one. Maybe you'll try Masterboards. If you do, let me know either in the comments down below or tag me on Instagram. I will put my name up here somewhere. I'll also put it in the description box. But you can find me at releasethecraftin on Instagram. And I guess that's it. I'll leave you guys to it. Be creative, try something new, and get crafting. Bye!